Okay, so now we have to find the missing side, but what's different is I only have one of the sides. If I knew this other side, I could just use Pythagorean theorem, but we don't know this side. But we are also given this angle measure. So my clue is if I know one of the sides and I know one of the angles, besides the 90, then I can use one of my trig functions. Either sine, cosine, or tangent. Now, in order to determine whether I'm going to use sine, cosine, or tangent, we have to look at the angle that has a value in it, so 40 degrees. Then I need to label the side the x and the 35 are on. So if my angle's here, x would be the furthest side away. So that's going to be opposite. And then the 35 is close. And I know it's not hypotenuse because that's the hypotenuse. So that means this has to be adjacent. So even though I know this is the hypotenuse, I'm not even going to label it because it's not going to do any good for us. This is the only two that we're going to use. Opposite, adjacent. So now we have to look at our trig functions and determine which one is the one that has opposite over adjacent. And that's going to be our tangent. These other two use hypotenuse, which we're not going to use, so we can eliminate these two. So it's going to be tangent. And to set it up, we're going to say tangent of 40 is equal to opposite side over the adjacent. Then our goal is to solve for x. I need to multiply by whatever's in the bottom of a fraction, this case 35, so those guys cancel. But I also have to multiply this side by 35. So we get 35 times the tangent of 40, and that's going to be our x value. So now we're ready to type that into our calculator. So 35 times the tangent of 40. And we get 23.37. So that is the length of our missing side. Now, let's do the same thing for 10, but this one's going to be just a little bit different. Okay, so again, we identify our angles here. So now we have to label the side with the 20 and the x. Well, x is across from my 90-degree mark, so there's my hypotenuse. And 20 is the opposite side. So now I look at my trig functions. I need opposite and hypotenuse, which is going to be sine. So we say sine of 66 is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. And this is why this one's different, is because x is on the bottom. So it's going to require just another step. So we start by multiplying by whatever's in the bottom of our fraction. This time it's x, so that those guys cancel. And we get x times the sine of 66 is equal to 20. Well, our goal for solving is to get x alone. So we've got to break these guys apart. They're multiplying, so to break up multiplication, we divide. So I'm going to divide by sine of 66. That way those guys cancel. But I also have to divide this side by sine of 66. So x is going to equal 20 divided by sine of 66. And now we are ready to type that into our calculator. And our missing side is 21.89. So again, quick recap. When I'm given an angle and one of the sides and I just need to find the other, I'm going to use one of my SohCahToa functions, sine, cosine, tangent. And depending on whether the x is in the top or bottom of the fraction will depend on how much algebra. But this would be these are good examples of what we are going to be required to do.